They found a body under the pier last night. Not the first, won't be the last. And I think I was supposed to be next.
It's watching you.
I was 16, about to start junior year, living in a dead-end coastal town in Maine. The kind of place where tourists disappear and nobody asks why. That night, I went for a run. The pier was empty. The ocean was silent. The heat had finally faded, leaving the air thick with salt. Then, clink. I stopped, checked my pocket. My keys were gone. I crouched, peering through the wooden planks. Nothing but darkness. Without thinking, I dropped down, crawling under the pier. The air was damp, reeking of seaweed and stale beer. My watch's backlight barely helped as I sifted through the sand. Then, I had an idea. I slipped my shoelace through the boards above to mark my spot. But as I stood up, the lace was yanked out of my hand. I froze. A sharp shuffle echoed from behind. Then another. Not from one place, from multiple. The air turned thick, suffocating. I turned to crawl out, but a hand shot out from the darkness, wrapping around my ankle. Cold, clammy, fingernails digging into my skin. I screamed, kicking hard. My foot connected with something solid, and the grip released. I scrambled out, sprinting home, not looking back. My dad was furious, until he saw the bruises on my ankle. We called the cops. We changed the locks. I told myself it was over, until a few mornings later, a knock at dawn. I checked the peephole. No one was there. I slowly opened the door. Sitting on the doormat was a single shoelace. Mine. But here's the part I never told anyone. The morning after it happened, I had gone back to the pier. My keys were still in the sand, right where I dropped them. So if my keys never moved, what did I hear fall through the boards that night? And Blackridge? It has a history of missing people near that pier. But last night, someone updated the missing persons board. And when I walked past it, a new name had been added. Mine. People talk about the missing tourists. They don't talk about the ones that came back. Because those people aren't the same. Hollow Creek, Maine, off-season. A dead town when summer ends. The souvenir shops, boarded up. The boardwalk, silent. The pier, empty. Or at least it's supposed to be. People always go missing near the pier. And sometimes they come back. But they don't remember where they were. And they don't act like themselves. I never believed the stories. Until last night. I was running. The cold wind whipped through my hoodie. The waves crashed beneath me, their rhythm steady. My breath fogged in the air. Then, a whisper, close, right beside my ear. I stopped so fast I nearly tripped. But the pier was empty, just the wooden planks stretching endlessly ahead. Then, I saw something. At the very end of the pier, a figure. No movement, no sound. Just standing there, facing the water. I don't know why, but I stepped closer. Something about him felt wrong. His arms hung limply at his sides. His head tilted too far to the right. And his skin looked wet, like he had just crawled out of the ocean. The hairs on my arms stood up. Every instinct screamed, leave. Then he moved. Not his legs, not his arms, just his head. He snapped it toward me. I gasped. His eyes were gone. Just two black, hollow sockets. And then, he smiled. His lips peeled back too far. His teeth were sharp, wrong. And then I realized, he wasn't wet. The water wasn't dripping off him. It was dripping out of him. Leaking. From his mouth, his empty eye sockets, his ears. Like he was still drowning. Like the ocean was still inside him. I ran, full speed. My heart slammed against my ribs. The wooden boards groaned beneath my feet. Then, crackney, the pier collapsed beneath me. I was falling, straight into the black water. And as I hit the ocean, I heard it. A voice. Not my own. Not human. Whispering. You were supposed to be next. Then hands, pale, clammy, grabbing me from below, pulling me under. I kicked, thrashed. And suddenly, I was waking up, lying on my bed. My sheets were wet. My hair was dripping. My clothes smelled like salt. I stumbled to the mirror. There was something in my mouth. I reached in, pulled it out. It was seaweed. And then I noticed at the window. It was wide open. And on the windowsill, a single wet footprint, not mine. And in the distance from my open bedroom door, I heard a whisper. You came back wrong. Our last night in Black Ridge, Colorado. The lake was silent, the fire dying. My friends left. I stayed. The boardwalk stretched empty under the cold sky. The water was black beneath it. Then I had to piss. An old public restroom sat near the docks. The light flickered. The walls were covered in graffiti. Inside, the air was thick, bleach mixed with something rotting. I went to the last stall. As I unzipped, the door creaked open, footsteps slow dragging. I held my breath. A shadow passed under the stall. Then it stopped, directly in front of my door. I waited. Nothing. I reached for the lock. It didn't move. I pushed harder. Someone was holding it shut. Silence. Then, in the next stall, a soft creak, no feet beneath the door. Someone was standing on the toilet. I looked up. A face, pressed between the stall and ceiling, wide, unblinking eyes. A grin too big for his face. I rammed the door. It flew open. The restroom was empty. The exit handle wouldn't budge. Behind me, the stall door slammed open. I lunged onto the sink, forcing open a tiny window. As I squeezed through, something grabbed my ankle. Fingers too long, skin too loose. I hit the boardwalk running. Cops came, scratches on the handle. No man. They never followed up. That night I woke up. My window was open. In the dark. I heard breathing, not close. Under my bed. I reached for my phone. My fingers shook as I turned on the flashlight. I hesitated, then leaned over the edge of the bed. Light flooded the floor. Empty. Then, from inside my closet, a whisper. You left the door open. I didn't sleep. By morning, I convinced myself I imagined it. Sleep deprivation. Stress. Then I saw it. On my windowsill. Long, deep scratches. And on the floor, a single, wet footprint